Everyone in the bar swore they'd never forget that night. It wasn't the music or the rowdy laughter of men who'd had too much to drink. It wasn't even the sound of engines roaring outside when a pack of bikers stormed in like they owned the place. No, what froze everyone's blood was what happened when one of those bikers reached out, ripped a waitress's shirt, and revealed something that changed everything. It wasn't what they expected. And it wasn't what he expected either. By the end of the night, the toughest man in the room was the one holding back tears. Stick with me, because this story isn't about violence or fear. It's about what happens when broken people collide in the unlikeliest of places, and find the kind of strength you don't see every day. The bar was already tense when the bikers walked in. The waitress, a quiet young woman named Emily, had been working double shifts to pay off debts no one knew about. She carried herself with grace, but her eyes told a different story, always darting, always cautious, as if she was waiting for something bad to happen. That night, as she balanced a tray of drinks, one of the bikers, massive, loud, reeking of whiskey, decided to test her patience. He jeered, leaning across the table, his hand brushing her arm when she tried to pull away. Emily forced a smile, the kind every waitress has mastered, polite, tired, unshaken. But the man wasn't satisfied. His friends egged him on, and with one sudden motion, he grabbed the front of her shirt and yanked. The fabric tore with a sickening sound, echoing louder than the jukebox. The bar went dead silent. Emily froze, not from shame, but from something deeper, fear that old wounds would resurface. What spilled out of that torn shirt wasn't what anyone expected. Beneath the cotton fabric, taped gently against her skin, was a line of faded hospital patches, scars from surgeries no one ever knew she had. More than that, there was a medical port still healing, covered carefully with gauze. Emily's hand flew to her chest to cover it, but it was too late. The bar had already seen the truth she'd been hiding. She wasn't just a waitress. She was a fighter battling something far bigger than a rude customer. The biker's hand froze midair, his laughter caught in his throat. For a moment, his face shifted, not cruel, but confused, almost ashamed. Emily's eyes burned with unshed tears, not because of the humiliation, but because she'd fought so hard to keep her sickness private. The bar remained silent, waiting for what would happen next. Some people reached for their phones, some muttered under their breath. The biker's buddies snickered awkwardly, but even they looked uncomfortable. Emily turned to run, her tray clattering to the floor, but then something unexpected happened. The same biker who had torn her shirt took a step back, his hands trembling. His voice cracked when he spoke, not loud, but enough for everyone to hear. "My sister, she had the same scars." His words fell heavy, and suddenly the loudest, roughest man in the room wasn't a predator anymore. He was a broken brother who had buried someone too soon. His friends quieted, and no one dared to laugh. From that moment, the story shifted. Instead of Emily being the victim, she became the center of something raw and human. The biker, whose name turned out to be Jack, pulled off his leather jacket and offered it to her, his eyes downcast, ashamed of what he'd done. Emily hesitated, her body still tense with fear, but something in his voice was different now. He wasn't mocking her, he was begging for forgiveness without even saying the words. Slowly, she slipped the jacket on, and the bar exhaled together like they'd been holding their breath the whole time. The rest of the night didn't unfold the way anyone imagined. Jack sat quietly at the bar, no longer the loudest in the room. He asked Emily about her treatments, her fight, her strength. She spoke softly, cautiously, but something about his brokenness gave her courage. She admitted she'd been working through chemo, that she couldn't afford to stop, and that the bar was the only place that gave her enough tips to survive. Jack listened, really listened, in a way that most people never had. His buddies, once rowdy and careless, stared at their drinks in silence, as if realizing how small they looked compared to her battle. By the time the night ended, something had shifted forever. Emily wasn't just the fragile waitress anymore, she was a symbol of strength in the middle of a smoky barroom full of men who thought they knew toughness. Jack walked out with his head lowered, his pack following quietly behind him, not in shame, but in respect. And Emily, though shaken, stood taller than before, her scars no longer something to hide, but something that told the world she was still here. The story of that night spread far beyond the bar. Some called it shocking, some called it inspiring, but everyone agreed it was unforgettable. Because sometimes the harshest moments peel back layers we never intended to show, and in doing so, they reveal the strength that was there all along. And in the end, it wasn't the biker's cruelty people remembered. It was the way a young woman's quiet fight froze an entire room, and turned even the roughest heart toward compassion.